Hello, people. First, I want to wish you all a joyous Hanukkah, a happy Kwanzaa, a Merry Christmas, and a safe New Year. Okay, let's move on. Today, we're going to talk about the F-14 Tomcat in the packaging. So our first example we have is our earliest example. We're going to go in chronological order here. This is an original Zylmex or Zee Toys product. And here we see on the back, clearly it says 1979 Zee Toys. So we can assume this came out on the shelves in 1979. And there we see our F-14 Tomcat, which is the same picture we see in the catalog when we look at this 1979 catalog. However, when we look back on the front and look at this date at the bottom, it says 1976 Zee Toys, made in Hong Kong. So what that suggests is that the front of this packaging was created in 1976 and then used for several years. And the back is probably changed every year, if not more often than yearly, and would be an accurate representation of when this toy actually came out. So our second example we have, notice it has the same plastic bubble, generic shape. But on the back, the artwork has changed. And it says here 1980. So this came out in 1980. And there's our Tomcat with the same artwork that is on the toy that's being sold. But if you'll notice, the date down here also says 1980. So the artwork at some point was updated. And if you look very carefully, there is a color difference. I don't know if that's what prompted the date change, but it's obvious in 1980 there was an attempt to update the packaging style, although it really isn't all that much different. But anyway, and our next example I'm going to call 2.5 because it's not a card, it's a multi-pack, but one certainly worthy of this video. On the back we see the different multi-packs available in 1980, so this does fit chronologically in our lineup. Side of box artwork and end of box artwork. And for those of you who want to see the price tag, this one came from Brad Less. I didn't buy it. I bought this off of eBay recently. But we do see these exact multi-packs advertised in the 1981 and 82 catalog. Our third example has the same artwork on the toy, same squadron markings and same stickers, but the packaging itself has changed dramatically. And what most people my age would recognize as the typical Dynaflight's packaging. This packaging existed for quite a while through the 1980s. And this one is dated 1982. And as you'll notice, the inventory of models is starting to increase a great deal. And there's our Tomcat. And if you'll notice, they're not dating the front artwork anymore. And the plastic bubble has again changed to something more specific to the Tomcat. Our fourth example is the second style artwork we see for the Tomcat, the camo artwork. And although these cards do appear to be identical on the front and the back, there are subtle differences, like the removal of the Zee Toys Inc. name, moving the product number, and the inclusion of the Intex Recreation logo. Intex had purchased Zee at some point before 1982, and this is their attempt to make their name more recognizable. And if you'll notice, they're putting their logo there, but the date is the same. One says made in China, one says made in Hong Kong. Now, it's hard to know if this card here really was produced in 1982, but it's easy to assume that since none of the artwork had changed. But we don't know that for sure. We're left to assume this. Now, according to the catalog, the catalogs we have, we see the original Bounty Hunter squadron markings in this 1982 catalog, but by 1984, it's changed to the camo. Now, I don't have the 83, so we can't know that either. Moving along to our fifth example, we see, again, the card hasn't changed, but the paint job on the toy has. Now we're looking at the Jolly Rogers paint job. In the back, the artwork has changed, of course. It's a whole different group of airplanes. It looks like there's a couple other airplanes in there, new airplanes included. But, funny enough, the date is still the same. And the zip code changed for some reason. But anyway, it's safe to assume that this toy was not on the shelf in 1982. When we look in the 1986 Intex catalog, we see the gray camo paint job, but when we go to the 88 catalog, we see the Jolly Rogers paint job, and notice it's marked new graphics. So it's safe to assume in 1988 was the first year we had seen this paint job. Now, our sixth example is going to be harder for some of you to identify. Both of these toys are identical paint job. Now, on the back, the picture of the grouping of toys has changed, but that's not necessarily what makes this the sixth generation. The date is the same still, 1982, but they're adding this other line in that says conforms to safety requirements of ASTM F963-86. And not only that, we notice the corners have rounded. They've gone away from, or they want to go away from, the traditional sharp cornered edges, which, if you'll notice, they all kind of wrinkle up into the shape of a quarter round circle. So to make the toy look more pleasant on the shelf and over time, they're rounding those corners on the card, and that's something that we see throughout the life of these cards and most carded toys. Our seventh variation we have is obviously very different. It's the same Jolly Rogers paint job, but our card has changed dramatically. And this one was sold at KB Toys, reduced from $179 to $129. It's a riot. Anyway, on the back, we see the product line here is as big as it's been and will ever get. And there at the bottom, we see the Tomcat. So this one came out in 1983. Made in China, Zal Enterprise Limited. And see, we still have that conforms to safety requirements marking. Our 8th version of the Tomcat, again, is obviously very different. It is the top hatters now, but also it's not even a Zylmex or a Zee or Intex product. It's a Motormax product distributed by Redbox. Now, it doesn't show us a date on the back here, and it doesn't even show us a lineup of other toys. It just asks us to please retain this packaging, which I think is a riot. And I did. I kept the whole thing, but this toy came out in 97 or 98. I remember that. I bought this at a Big Lots here in Columbus, Ohio. This is the first version of the new company taking over this product line. And the 9th variation is the same top hatters paint job with, again, a radically different packaging and a different name. When they took over the product line, they first called it the Skyflights, and now they're calling it Skywings. They don't seem to know what to call the toy, but either way, on the back we see a nice picture of the lineup of die-cast toys that Motormax is selling, which is the same lineup of toys they bought from Zylmex. And in time, this toy line will change, but as of now, in its early stages, it's exactly the same, with the exception of removing all the Zee or Zylmex logos on the bottom. Distributed by Motormax, made in China. Motormax. Motormax's name is all over this. This one was also purchased at Odd Lots. And we see down here, Motormax logo is a registered trademark of Redbox Toy Factory. Our 10th variation is the same as the 9th, only it's a double pack. The F-111 Raven, which is another one of the Zylmex airplanes I love to collect. Another aircraft carrier-based airplane, and an airplane that would have been seen on the exact same aircraft carrier alongside a Tomcat. So I really like that these two came together. It's the first time we see a double pack from this toy line. Okay, so our 3rd variation from Motormax, which is the 11th packaging style that I have to show, is still the Top Hatter Squadron, but it's the new body style with the integrated windshield and folding wings. But again, it's still a far departure from the other two variations that we just saw. On the back here, we see finally Motormax is adding a date. 2007. And we have the 2007 Motormax catalog, and it shows this exact toy. Now our last variation we have to show you today is foreign packaging. It says down here in English, made in China and distributed by KRS. Now, there's very little English on this box it says die-cast metal Dynaflights, which are going back to the old Zylmex name of the toy line. And we know what's in here because of the sticker, A143, which is the mold marking for the Tomcat. But there's no mention of Motormax or Redbox anywhere on this packaging. I'm assuming that these 4 bullet points are indicating 4 different languages. But since I don't speak any of the many Asian languages that this toy was meant for, I don't know exactly what it says, but I find it curious that they bothered to market in English made in China if this was never really meant for an English-speaking retail market. But either way, it's really cool, and I like having it. So let's open it up and check it out. It's the Jolly Rogers. This is the latest version of this molded toy. And this is the only packaging variation we have for this particular variation. Now to wrap up this video on packaging, I'd like to be able to say I have all the different variations of packaging for the F-14 Tomcat, but sadly I do not. This one does not have a date, but since it's Motormax, it's certainly post-97. So this was done sometime after 1997, and a Tomcat is certainly available for it. I just don't have it yet. Done for Road and Track, which is an automotive magazine if you're not familiar. Here's one done under the name Air Command by a company called Woolsworth or Woolco. For a lot of you young kids out there, you probably won't remember this retail name, but back in the 70s and 80s, Woolsworth was the Walmart of the time. No date and no mention of Zylmex or Zee, but this is certainly a Zylmex Skyhawk, mold marking A130. Just like this wings, mold marking A148, the Tomcat was certainly available from Woolsworth. I just don't have them yet, but they're out there somewhere. And this is probably one of the more modern packaging styles available from Motormax. And the Tomcat is available, I just can't seem to find it. Thanks for watching, people. Make it a great day, and again, have a happy and safe New Year.